Cornflower was having a very busy day. Having delivered food to Matthias and Methuselah, she went out on the ramparts, accompanied by her helpers. They fed the sentries and took back all the dishes. Next, she found herself making an extra 2 trays of food up for Silent Sam's parents. The 2 squirrels thanked her politely and set to with an appetite. Little Sam stood watching them, sucking his paw. Cornflower had a special soft spot for the baby squirrel. She made up a tray for him too. She had no sooner finished that than Constance called to ask a favor of her. Would she mind making up another 4 trays? 3 for the Vole family who had just returned, and an extra large one for Basil Staghare. Cornflower cheerfully obliged. Later, as they all ate, her eyes grew wide with amazement. She had never seen anyone shift such vast amounts of food, not even Constance or Ambrose Spike. They were huge eaters, but mere amateurs compared with Basil Staghare. Basil wiped his mouth daintily on a napkin. He had impeccable manners to match his insatiable appetite. He gushed forth praise for the Abbey victuals. "Oh, excellent! Absolutely top hole. Do you know, I forgot how good the old tiffin at Redwall could be. I say, my dear, would you mind refreshing an old bachelor hare's memory? Another tankard of that fine October ale, and perhaps one more portion of your very good summer salad. Ah, and I think I could manage another few slices of Friar Hugo's quince pie. Superb. Ahem. Don't forget the goat's milk cheese with hazelnuts. I'm very partial to that. Cut along now, you little charmer. My word, what an attractive young field mouse girl." Cornflower sent 2 of her helpers. They had to go the long way around to reach the kitchens. Abbot Mortimer had declared Great Hall and Cavern Hole out of bounds to all creatures, with the exception of those helping Matthias and Methuselah. Below the newly discovered steps, a pair of lanterns cast pools of golden light into the inky blackness. The 2 mice made their way gingerly down the secret staircase. The moles stayed outside, ready to help if they were needed further. The air was chilly but dry. Deeper and deeper the 2 friends went until the steps ended at the beginning of a downward winding corridor. It had been neatly dug and shored up with wooden supports. Matthias suppressed a shudder. How long had it been since any creature trod this silent, musty passage? He brushed away cobwebs which disintegrated at the touch of a paw. Methuselah held on to his habit. Now they turned left, now right, then another left, left again, then right. Methuselah's voice sounded hollow and eerie. The passage was probably dug like this to give it extra strength. Have you noticed, Matthias? We seem to be going downwards still. Yes, we must be nearly underneath the Abbey foundations, Matthias replied. The friends pressed onwards. They could not estimate how long they had been following the course of this ancient, winding corridor. Methuselah had ventured slightly ahead. Now he halted. "Ah, this looks like the end of the line," he squeaked. It was a door. Together they inspected it, built of stout timber, banded with iron, beset with florin spikes. The door did not appear to be locked, yet it would not budge. Matthias held his lantern high. "Look, there's some writing on the lintel over the door." Methuselah read it aloud. "The same as the steps twixt the hall. Remember and look to the center. My password again is Redwall. I am that is. You alone are to enter." The old mouse did not hide his disappointment. After all the help and assistance that I've given, countless hours of study and valuable time, really?" His words fell upon deaf ears. Matthias was already counting the florin spikes that were driven into the floor. Methuselah feigned indifference, but his natural curiosity soon overcame any chagrin he felt at not being allowed to pass the doorway. "Need any help, young mouse?" 42, 43. "Hush, can't you see I'm trying to count?" came the reply. The old gatehouse keeper put on his glasses. "Well, have you solved the riddle all by yourself?" Matthias winked at his companion. "Yes, at least I hope I have. There are 3 clues in the rhyme, you see, the same as the steps. Look to the center, and the password is Redwall. Now, we must remember that Redwall has 7 letters. If you look at these old-fashioned nails, florin spikes, Methuselah corrected. Matthias continued, yes, if you look at these florin spikes, you'll find that they are in rows of 7, the same as the number of letters in Redwall. There are 7 rows of spikes going from side to side, and 7 rows from top to bottom, 49 spikes in all. Therefore, the 25th spike up, down, or across is the exact middle spike. The rhyme says, look to the center. That's this one here. Matthias placed his paw on the spike in question. The door swung creakingly inwards. Both mice could feel the hairs standing on their backs as the door opened with agonizing slowness. When it stood fully open, Matthias put his paw around Methuselah's thin shoulders. Come on, old friend, we go in together, he said. But the rhyme, Methuselah protested. It says that only you may enter. Matthias answered in a strange, full voice. It seemed to grow in years in stature. I am that is, old one. Martin is Matthias. As my trusted friend and faithful companion, I say that you may enter with me. Methuselah felt himself in the presence of one many times older than he. Lanterns held high, the 2 mice advanced through the doorway. It was a small, low-ceilinged chamber. A stone block rested squarely in the center, the tomb of Martin the warrior. All around the sides of the stone were detailed carvings, depicting scenes from Martin's life, deeds of valor and works of skillful healing. Lying along the top of the stone was a life-sized effigy of the warrior. He was clothed in a familiar habit of a Redwall mouse, plain with no trimmings. Matthias stood reverently, gazing upon the calm features of his own legendary hero in the silence of the small chamber. Methuselah whispered in his ear, "He bears an uncanny resemblance to you, young one." As the old mouse spoke, the door behind him creaked shut. Feeling no panic, Matthias turned to look. On the back of the door hung a shield and a sword belt. The shield was a plain, round, steel thing, of the type carried by the warriors of old, and years had not dulled its brightly burnished front. In its center was the letter M. The sword belt was in pristine condition, soft and as supple as if it had newly come from the tanner's bench. Shiny black leather with a hanging tab to carry sword and scabbard. Its broad silver buckle gleamed in the lantern light. Without a word, Matthias undid his novice's cord girdle, handing it to Methuselah. He looked down the sword belt and buckled it around his waist. The belt fitted as if it had been made for him. With great care he lifted the shield from the door and tried it on his arm. It had 2 grips, one below the elbow and another for the paw to grasp. It felt oddly familiar to Matthias. There was more writing where the shield had hung upon the back of the door. Methuselah read it. By the moonlight on the hour, in my threshold space lay me. Watch the beam reflect my power. Unite once more my sword with me. I am, that is, standing true for all. O warrior mouse, protect Redwall. As in a dream, Matthias gave the door a gentle tug. It opened. By the lantern lights, the 2 mice made their way back from the lonely chamber, back to the familiar warmth and cheer of Redwall Abbey, back to the hot June noonday sun.